Hello, my name is Ted Holsey. I'm Vice President of Marketing at eFolder and your host for today's event. Welcome to the eFolder Partner Chat webinar series. This webinar series focuses on the business issues facing MSP business owners today. The topic for today is how to consistently attract new clients with video testimonials and social media. Today we are joined by Mike Simmons, President of Varvid. Before we go through the agenda, let's cover a few housekeeping items. Today's session is being recorded. The recorded version of the webinar will be made available on eFolder's YouTube channel. We will also make copies of the slides available to those who attended the event. With over 105 people registered for today's session, we've put all participants in listen-only mode. You can enjoy the audio portion for today's event by either streaming it to your computer or dialing in over the phone. Questions are strongly encouraged throughout today's webinar. We've planned a special Q&A section at the end of today's discussion, but you may submit them as we go along, and we will try to address your questions on the fly. Now let me introduce Mike. Mike's formal experience in post-production began at Escape Studios in London, where he had the opportunity to work with footage from a number of motion pictures and popular television shows. Returning to the States in 2007, Mike began a post-production company, Voodoo FX, before joining forces with Aaron Booker to form Varvid. Mike has over a decade of management experience overseeing large teams and budgeting project costs in the face of grueling deadlines and an unpredictable economy. As president and co-founder at Varvid, he has successfully managed numerous marketing projects and video campaigns for clients such as HP, Microsoft, Cisco, ConnectWise, Xerox, Ingram Micro, HGG, ASCII, and many others. In addition to helping big-name tech companies tell their stories, Varvid has successfully helped hundreds of MSPs and solution providers get started with video-based marketing. Welcome, Mike, and thank you for joining us for this eFolder Partner Chat.
Thank you, Ted. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk to all you guys. So Ted gave me a nice little introduction there. A little bit about what Varvid is, just to sort of put this in context. We are basically a full-service marketing and production company that specializes in video production. We do a lot of live webcasting, and we also do graphics for companies that are looking to tell their story behind their company events, products, or services. In short, we help tell and share your story. That's what we're about. So let's go ahead and dive right into this. The first question I have for you guys, before we start talking about video, it's really important that we start with where you're driving all of your traffic. And it's really about your website. This is where the train stops. This is where everybody's heading. So before you go too deep with creating all this wonderful content, you should really take a moment and look at your website and make sure is the house in order, as they say. So if you want to go ahead and jump ahead here, I just wanted to give you some 5 rules on websites. Some things to take a look at as you assess, is my website up to speed where I want it to be? Is this the first impression I want to give people when they show up? Number 1, your websites are living documents. You really need to dedicate time to nurture them. And that's the same rule for video content as well as social media. You need to invest time and creating these things and stay on top of it. It's not just to create it and leave it on the shelf and hope that it's going to stay in line with everything that's going on. You need to stay on top of it. And it doesn't have to be a huge time commitment, but it definitely has to be something that's consistent. Number 2, understand the goal of your website. What are you trying to show potential prospects, your current client base? What is it, the goal of your website? Are you giving information? Is it to shed light on some service offerings? What is it? Then create a simple sitemap. Make sure it's very intuitive. I can't tell you how many times we have dealt with websites where it's just a labyrinth. It's a maze trying to find answers and find information. Keep it simple. The conversation on the phone is where you can go deep with people. Your websites don't have to be this labyrinth. Then once you get that in order, start tracking your traffic's journey on your site. And there's a number of ways to do this, but you can track what keywords people are searching for on Google or Bing that's driving them to your website. But then you can also track their bounce rate. What's happening when they get to your website? Are they jumping to the home page from whatever page they started on? What's going on? track that, because that's how you can better tighten up your website. And then finally, rotate your content, particularly video. Video is very, very relevant as far as search engines are concerned. Rotate that content out, move it around on your site, and give fresh content, whether it's articles. A blog is great for doing this. Keeping it fresh will keep your website relevant. So that's just a little thing about websites. So make sure you're looking at that. So go ahead and move on. So social media, the other aspect of this, what I'm trying to give you guys here is this entire deck. We're going to make it available to you guys. I don't want you to have to sit here and take notes all the way through this, because there's lots of little detail that I want to make sure you guys have. So I tried to pack as much as I could in here, and that's the intent. We'll get this to you so you guys will have this. You can reference it. So in doing this, I'm trying to paint a picture here of your website and your social media sites, or where you're going to be delivering this video content. So it's really important to understand the philosophy behind your website as well as your social media, the social media landscape. Social media is not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's about developing relationships and maintaining those relationships and having conversations and making connections with people. This is a little bit different than traditional marketing, which if you think of like a TV ad where information is being shoved at people, it's coming at people. Social media is about an interaction where people are responding and a conversation is happening. So when we start talking about something like video, all of a sudden video, aside from being very visual, when we start talking about client testimonials and things like this, this is part of the whole philosophy of social media, in that you're trying to draw out honest answers, unscripted content from people that it really resonates. People trust it when it's coming from your clients, when it's not scripted. So it's really important to understand that social aspect of what we're trying to accomplish here with the types of video that we're going to be capturing. So with that in mind, we jump ahead here. I'll give you just a little more deeper philosophy on 5 rules for sort of understanding social media. You really need to understand the landscape. And as I mentioned before, strive for conversations, not pitches. Pitches are okay in certain contexts, but in the social media world, it's really more about trying to get people to interact with you, because it's, as I mentioned before, it's the marathon, not the sprint. Learn to communicate in the language that social media uses. Not everything has to be a deeply scripted pitch for whatever it is you're promoting. You can have fun cultural stuff that maybe it's promoting what's going on in your company. Maybe there's a birthday or something in your office. These kinds of things people respond to, because you have to keep in mind here, you're reaching people not really at their offices. You're reaching people outside of the office. Most people have a personal Facebook page or Twitter, and they are interacting with their friends as much as they're interacting with you as a company. So making sure you have those cultural type of posts going up, the fun stuff, keeps people invested in you, and not so much you as a company, but you as real human beings. Social media is not free. It takes time and commitment. As I mentioned before, the same as the website. Time is money. So you really need to be looking at this and giving it the time that it needs to build your brand online. So don't take this lightly. Carve out some time and spend it on developing this type of content, whether it's social media, video, website, whatever it be. Leveraging your content, visual content beats written copy hands down every time. Video is super relevant. Ironically, the descriptions that go along with the video are really what's important, but if you give somebody a choice between watching a video or reading through a 10-page PDF, they're going to choose the video every time, guaranteed. In the same respect, cultural content usually trumps informational content. So this is what I was mentioning earlier about these fun pieces, like I mentioned, the birthday type of piece or something like that, seems to resonate with people a heck of a lot more than informational content where you're just shoving information about a new product or whatever it may be. Define some metrics and start tracking your progress, and make a commitment to follow a pattern based on these metrics. At the end of this deck here, I sort of have a little playbook that we started with as far as how often we were posting on Facebook versus Google Plus versus our blog. So we'll get to that, and we can look at just a place to start for those of you who are just like, what the heck do I do? Where should I be posting, and what does that look like? And then finally, stealing is okay. If you read a really great article somewhere and you want to share it, go ahead and do it. Just remember to always give credit where credit is due. Always link back to whoever wrote that article. Linking back and forth between websites is wonderful for SEO. So go ahead and do that. You don't have to be generating all the content for everything that you're posting. You can pull from other people. Just make sure you give them credit. Okay, so
Mike, I got a question, and it's a topic I've heard you speak about before, and it kind of goes back to the understanding the landscape. You know, I've heard you talk about how you need to engage differently based upon the kind of social media outlet it is. So there's a difference between engagement on Twitter or Facebook. Can you talk a little bit more about that, like how your own view on the different social media platforms and how to do it differently on each one?
Yeah, this is a totally sort of, it's hard to be objective when you talk about this because there's different approaches to it. But Twitter obviously limits how much information you can type in there. So what we often do, Google Plus and Facebook, we sort of approach that the same way. You can go a little deeper with it. You can do a lot of interesting things visually where you can upload photos and tag the photos. You can also upload the videos natively to places like Facebook and tag videos. This gives your posts a lot more legs. We go a lot deeper with it. We do a lot more social cultural stuff on Facebook and Google Plus than we do, say, on Twitter. But we try to take the same story, whether it's a cultural piece or it's an informational piece, and cater it to whatever the platform is. So Twitter doesn't allow us to post a big long paragraph on whatever it may be we're going to be talking about. So we try to shorten it down and put a link that might drive them to a video or drive them to a photo album or whatever it is that we want to kind of share with them. Twitter, our approach to it is more like the headline than the actual content itself. To sort of generate interest, whereas Facebook and Google Plus, there you can pretty much just put the headline and also the content and share it that way. When you get to things like YouTube, YouTube is kind of its own beast. We don't use it so much from a social aspect. We make sure that we post every single video we do on YouTube along with descriptions and links back to our website and links to whoever might be in the video. Put as much information as we can in there, and it's more like an archive as far as that people can find on our channel. As far as videos on YouTube and Facebook, you always want to natively upload your videos to Facebook. You don't want to be taking a YouTube link and posting that on Facebook. And the reason why is because if you upload it natively to Facebook, as opposed to linking to it in YouTube, you can tag people in the videos. And when you start doing that, that video starts popping up on everybody's wall that you've tagged in the video. So just something to keep in mind. But as far as, you know, it's more limited by the platform more than anything. We try to take the same story and push it up to all the different platforms. We just sort of have to tweak the way that we present it depending on the platform.
Okay, great. I just want to remind everybody, please ask questions as we go along. I want everybody to be a part of this conversation. So just use the Q&A feature in GoToWebinar, and I'm moderating the Q&A as we go along. Different question, but on the same slide, I think. Can you talk a little bit about what are the important metrics that, say, what are the 2 or 3 important metrics that someone wants to measure when they're just getting started?
As far as social media?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Or what are you guys measuring? I mean, what is important to you?
And I put this in our little playbook at the end here, but let's touch on it now because it's a great question. So we basically track our blog, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And we have different metrics for each of these that we're looking at. In general, they're all kind of the same types of metrics, but to give you an idea, as far as our blog, we're tracking how many subscribers we had, we're tracking our comments, and we're tracking, in particular, how many shares we get. So any articles or anything we're posting on our blog, we're tracking how many people are sharing that content. Facebook, we're tracking likes and comments. Twitter, we're tracking our number of retweets, the number of followers, and the number of mentions. Google+, we're tracking the number of pluses and the number of peeps in our Google circle. LinkedIn, we're tracking our likes, our comments, and our follows. And YouTube, we're tracking the number of views per video as well as the number of subscribers. Now, they use different terms for a lot of these different things, likes versus pluses and that. But in general, it's the same stuff that we're looking at. How many people are liking what we're posting? How many people are commenting on it? How many people are sharing it? And then how many subscribers or followers do we have to any of these types of channels? Those are the things that we're keeping our eye on. And what we're starting to see as far as patterns is we're starting to identify what content is resonating with people. What we're seeing in particular with video, when we look at our platform and how many views certain videos are getting, we're seeing that content that features a particular person. People respond to people. So versus, say, maybe something covering a product or an event. Anything that features a person, especially maybe an industry leader or something like that, really resonates with people. I'm trying to look at our stats. Look up our stats. We just did a report on this. That kind of stuff is resonating with people. Sorry. So the videos that feature people versus products is what, and I think it's driven by social media in that the person that's in the video is a little bit narcissistic and taking that video and sharing it on their social media site, and it starts to get legs. So it's not just you driving the content. You also have other people in the video that's driving and sharing that with their friends. So.
Great.
So let's dive into talking about video. So what's the deal with video? Now, I don't want to go into this too much. I mean, the fact that you guys are on this webinar, I think you're all pretty convinced of the impact and the importance of video. So, but just to sort of put it in context, what we're seeing now, a few years ago, we were seeing the number of users, if you look at the stat here, was just growing exponentially every year. And now what we're seeing is, if you look from 2011 to 2012, the number of users didn't really go up that much in comparison to prior years. But what's really interesting about this stat is the number of minutes that they're using to engage as far as watching YouTube. It's grown. So basically, each person that's out there is watching more and more content. And that's a really important thing to understand. Because if you move ahead to the next slide here, I think one of the major reasons that's pushing this paradigm shift is mobile devices. And everybody has a smartphone now. Everybody's got an iPad or a tablet of some kind. And all of these businesses, we're seeing things like Netflix, Amazon Prime, Skype, FaceTime, Facebook. They're all supporting and pushing video content. And this is a huge thing to really understand and embrace, because when we started Varvid 5 years ago, it was like pushing a rock up a hill trying to convince people that video was where it was at, that you need to jump on this train because this is what's coming down the road. This was back before YouTube had HD video. This was before Netflix. So it was a very hard thing for people to understand. Now it's very commonplace. People get it, and I think they get it because of these, it's invaded the household. It's invaded their smartphones, Netflix, this idea of streaming HD video content. People get it now. So they're much more into embracing this technology. So these stats here are pretty interesting. I won't really go through them all, but when you get a chance, maybe take a look at them. What's interesting to me is we used to struggle with Flash versus HTML5, particularly when the iPhone came out. It didn't support Flash. It still doesn't, really. And what was interesting was like, oh my God, Apple shot themselves in the foot on this, because how can people watch video now? Everything was being pushed via Flash. What was interesting is the demand for the iPhone was so huge that all of these platforms now, it's very hard to find a platform now that doesn't have HTML5 support for it, that will convert your videos into Flash as well as MP4 or some other format that can be shown on a mobile device. So everybody has sort of jumped on the bandwagon here. So it's super, super easy for you to take your video, upload it to whatever platform you're going to use, and share it on any device anywhere. So your job is a heck of a lot easier. All right, so I get it already. How do I get started with video? So you really need to decide who in your organization owns this. Who on your team, it could be you, but I would suggest having somebody else on your team own this. Who's going to take this and run with this? You can facilitate it, or really I would recommend is you as the facilitator on this, but find somebody else to handle the technical aspect of shooting, the editing, the uploading to social media, and that type of thing. Then you want to get your gear together. Chances are you already have everything you need to get started, and I'll touch on this in a couple slides on what types of gear you can be using. Then I would suggest you test your process by experimenting on yourself. Shoot a couple little cultural pieces around the office. Maybe it is that birthday that's coming up, and you shoot the little party that happens and upload that to Facebook. Maybe it's a question you ask your employees, why do you like working for our company? Something simple, but try out the process on yourself, get used to the sort of the workflow, and just get started, just dive in. And then once you get the process down and you feel kind of comfortable with what you're doing, then go out there and get some of those testimonials from your clients. So as far as, go ahead and go forward, as far as the team, in an ideal world, it'd be great if you had 3 people helping you, and you were one of them. I realize that's not the case from some of the smaller companies. You might not have the people to help, and you can certainly do this yourself. This doesn't need to be a team thing. It just makes things a lot easier, and I think it really helps keep the process consistent when you have other people that are accountable for making sure you execute on this. So I try to give you 3 roles here. Very, very simple, the 1, 2, 3 that you need on your team. Facilitator and interview. This is most likely your role. If you're the president or CEO or marketing director, you manage and maintain the relationships with the clients. You know them by name. They know you. You're the one that should be asking the questions. And basically, you're sort of directing the on-camera conversation. So in short, it's your job to get them in front of the camera to begin with, and then also to keep them comfortable. You know, have a light conversation with them. That's your role. As far as the production and the tech and handling the camera and all that kind of nuts and bolts of what's going on, bring in someone else to do that. And I've mentioned down below, interns are wonderful resources for doing this kinds of things. There's a lot of young kids up at the local college maybe that are just hungry for doing this type of stuff. They love video. They've grown up with it. They're perfect for actually capturing the content. So let them focus on the technical aspects of it so you can focus on the relationship aspect of it. And then finally, a social media coordinator of some kind. This is really where companies drop the ball. They create all this wonderful content, but they never upload it anywhere, or they never leverage it online. So it doesn't really do any good. So once you get the video edited, hand it off to somebody that can then take it, and this can be an intern as well, can take it and upload it to your blogging, make sure it gets on your YouTube channel, make sure it gets on Facebook, and gets it out there. So these don't have to be really high-level jobs, and even bringing in an intern to just help you if you want to do the editing, if you want to do that, if that's something that interests you, having that intern there to sort of help you execute on just various little things as you go through the process is a great resource to have. So I would encourage you to look at that. There's really not a lot of cost in doing any of this stuff. So moving on. So what kinds of videos should you be shooting? Well, the easiest and most valuable video by far, hands down, that is going to help your business is a client testimonial. And the philosophy behind this is you're basically allowing your clients to speak on your behalf. You will be shocked and amazed at the kinds of things that come out of their mouth when you get them talking about their experience with your company. We always try to keep it unscripted, but it's okay to have sort of a bullet point list of the types of things you might want to discuss. So maybe there's a particular product or service that they used through you as a solution to whatever problem they might be having. That might be a talking point. Maybe there was they had some backup disaster where there was a fire or something. And every client has a unique story. Try to figure out what their unique story is and then highlight that. But keep it unscripted. What we always do when we actually conduct our interviews is we kind of come in with an idea of the types of questions we want to ask about, but we just let them talk. And then at the end of the interview, we always end with, so is there anything else you wanted to say? And that almost every time is when we get the golden nugget, as we call it. We get that one thing that they say that just blows our mind. It was nothing we even thought of, and it's just the amazing comment that we wanted. Because if you tell them that we'd like to capture testimonial, they're going to think in their head, and they're going to kind of come up with something in their approach. And that, whatever that is, might not fit your line of questioning. So always try to give them an opportunity to just say what's on their mind. Keep it short and concise. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's about the message. It's not about the production. So wherever you are, if you're at an event, if you're outside and you see them on the street, wherever it is, take the opportunity and capture that testimonial. It doesn't need to be perfect. And when possible, this is kind of what we recommend. This is more of an editing thing, but we try to edit out your question. So if you're asking them questions, we try to have that person restate your question in their answer so that when you're editing it, you can edit the interviewer out of the whole video. And it just makes the flow of the actual testimonial flow along. It sounds like the client is just rolling through their answer. No one's asking them questions. They're just answering. It's still natural and unscripted, but as far as the flow of the video, it's not. It's okay if your questions are in there. There's some cases when it's just not possible to edit them out, and that's totally fine. But just a little tip is to try to have them restate your question. So if you were to ask the question, what color is the sky? Their answer would be, the color of the sky is blue, not just blue. So client testimonials, cannot express how important these are and how easy these are to get great content on your website right away. And you can kind of see over here, I have 8, for those of you who might be HTG members, I have their page up, and you can see how they've laid them out on their website, which is really great. They have a little blurb below each video, But when you click on these videos, they pop up and they play, and you hear in their own words from each one of them what they feel about certain aspects of HDG.
So, Mike, I guess an observation and then a question. You know, I think the inner perfectionist in all of us, I think, often causes people to procrastinate in around creating video. And I think your comment about it doesn't need to be perfect is really important. That I think sometimes people overestimate the importance of kind of the production qualities. Mm-hmm. And then because they obsess over that, they just don't do it because they don't think what they're producing is perfect. So That's definitely a challenge I think everyone needs to confront. But can you talk a little bit, I've heard you talk before about the importance of audio quality versus video quality and how that figures in.
Yeah, and I'm sort of leading up to that, but this is a really important thing. And if you think about the types of videos you watch on YouTube, there's a lot of crappy quality videos on YouTube, and there's a lot of crappy audio as well. But people are much more forgiving when the video goes out, but you can still hear the audio. We see this a lot, particularly when we do live webcasts. If the video cuts out, but the audio is still going, and we can see this in the metrics. We can see people dropping off in real time. If the video cuts out and the audio is still going, people stay engaged. They don't stay engaged for long, but they do stick with it for a few minutes to see if maybe that video is going to come back. I can still hear what's going on. If the audio cuts out and the video's there, they're gone. They're gone in 5 seconds. There's no patience for this. So as far as video content, and I'm going to cover some tools that you can use to capture really good audio with things like your iPhone or your Android. But yeah, you want to pay attention to audio. It's crucial that the audio is good, because it's really about what they're saying. It's not about what they look like. So very, very important. Thank you for bringing that up, Ted, because yeah, that is super important. And it's not hard to get good audio. Other types of videos that you can shoot that really fit business and marketing needs. We mentioned client testimonials, an about us video. Who are we? What do we do? These could be like a company profile type video. Video case studies. We've done a number of these over the years, and we'll touch on a little bit later about how you can partner with your vendors and use MDF funds to help fund some of those video case studies. These are deeper videos. These are probably not something I would suggest you pick up and start shooting right now. The easiest thing to start shooting right now are client testimonials. They're very, very simple. Case studies involve a little bit more of editing, and those are places where you might want to go deeper with the production value on it. But video press releases, product videos, maybe you're putting on an event and you want to capture some man-on-the-street interviews with the attendees at your event. Video tutorials or how-to videos, those are always great if you have a product or service you want to sort of highlight. Live webcasting, and then internal communication. This one's interesting in that we've had a number of CEOs that have large teams, and the company spread across multiple locations. A great way to use videos, use it internally. You know, record your message and send it out and post it on. You can either post it on a secure web page on your website, or you could even share it online on a social media site if it's something that you don't care that's open to the public. So those are some different types to give you some ideas of some videos that you can tackle as you dive into this. So in taking it to the next level, this is getting a little ahead of where I think we're at, but just to get you thinking further down the road, how do you budget for some of these higher-end projects? MDF funds are a great way. You can partner with your vendors to create these higher-end projects. To give you a couple examples of what I'm talking about is a case study. We did a number of videos for Intel featuring their hybrid cloud solution. And basically what it was Intel helped fund it. And we went to the MSP's offices, shot interviews with them. They brought in their end-user clients and shot interviews with them, and they talked about how the hybrid cloud was part of the solution for this end-user client. Nowhere in the video does it feature anyone from Intel. It's just got some Intel branding on it, but it also has the MSP's branding on it. So now the MSP ended up with this great video that shows that Intel has invested in them as a partner, but also highlights some of their end-user clients that are giving this great testimonial about how ABC Computers helped them with their problem around their business. And it was all funded by Intel. Animations is another thing we're seeing interest in, producing sort of short animated videos that explain what you do in layman's terms to potential prospects in your area. So you've probably seen a number of these on a number of different websites, you know, like what is an MSP? And it just breaks it down in about a minute or two of what that means and how it works. And then it ends with some kind of a call to action of, you know, contact us for how we can help you get started in this type of thing. All right, so here's kind of where the rubber meets the road. And the gear that I'm featuring here is the gear that you already have in your pocket. iPhones, Androids, all of these are video devices. And it goes back to the mantra of, you know, the best camera you have is the one you have with you, right? The opportunities you're going to have to shoot a testimonial with a client. You might be at an event. You might be walking down the street. You don't know when the opportunity is going to arise. Just jump on the chance, shoot the video. And these are things that you can have with you. So, for example, the little mini tripod. I really recommend using a tripod when possible. That's not always the case, so don't get hung up on it. But if you can, and there's a table around that you can stick the little tripod on, please do it. I gave you a few options here on how you can mount, say, your iPhone or your Android onto these tripods. The Una at the top there is my personal favorite. It'll attach to just about any smartphone. It has a tripod mount. It also has a suction that will stick on your dashboard. So it's got a lot of different uses. You always kind of have it with you in the car, which is particularly what I like about it. As far as capturing audio, what Ted was talking about earlier, I really recommend getting one of these smart lavs by Rode, and there's a link to it right there. You can plug it directly into your phone. It works on Android and iPhone, and it clips on. It's a clip-on mic like you see on the newscasts at night. It just clips onto the person's shirt, and it gives you fantastic audio, and you just use your phone and you start filming them, and you're going to capture great audio. The only thing I would add to it is maybe buying an extension cable to sort of extend the length of it so that the person, you don't have to be right up in their face when you're shooting. But that's really all you need right there. You need your smartphone and that little clip-on lavalier mic, and you should be able to capture great video. So this isn't about spending thousands and thousands of dollars and a huge learning curve. You guys already know how to shoot video with your phone, I would assume. You can even edit on your phone. There's a million apps to edit. So all I would recommend, the Tascam down here is a sort of a higher-end solution as far as if you're in a situation where maybe there's a speaker at the front of the room and you want to capture that audio and you're shooting from way at the back of the room, you can take one of these little audio recorders, this Tascam DR7, stick that up on the podium or stick it near the speaker, shoot your video from the back of the room, and then when you're editing, you can take that audio file and the video and sync them up. It's a little, there's not a really big trick to it, but I don't want you guys to get hung up on the technical aspect of that kind of a thing. But that is a solution that's out there that's a pretty darn cheap solution if that's something you're finding yourself doing quite a bit of. But really, it's about taking something like your iPhone, taking something like a clip-on mic to get great audio, and just get out there and start shooting. If you guys are interested in knowing about some higher-end solutions, maybe DSLR or some bigger cameras or lighting solutions or anything like that, please feel free to get a hold of me. I'm more than happy to walk you through it. What I really wanted to impress upon you here is you already have most of the tools you need. There's no reason why you shouldn't just get out there and start shooting some of this content. Don't get hung up on creating Lord of the Rings. Get focused on just getting the content and capturing it and getting it out there. So as far as shooting the video, so here's just 5 simple rules to capture the video. So really the #1 rule is be aware of your surroundings. You want to look for areas with lots of natural light and as little background noise as possible. So if possible, I would suggest going outside if it's a nice sunny day. You're going to get great light and great video if you do that. But be conscious of the background noise. Maybe there's a lot of traffic or something like that. It'd be much better to shoot somewhere where it's quiet than trying to go somewhere with lots of light and just horrible background noise. Because again, it's really about the audio more than the video. Make sure, and we get this a lot, make sure the light source is behind the camera and facing the subject. We get a lot of people that for some reason they want to stand in front of a video because they have a great view out their video. They have, wildebeest sweeping across some plain, on a hillside or something, and they want to make sure that's in the background. The problem is that ends up backlighting your subject, meaning it's almost like the witness protection program type of a look, where the light is behind the person and they just look like a silhouette of dark. So make sure that the light source, whether it's the sun, whether it's the window, whether it's the light in the room, make sure that that is facing the subject and that it's blanketing the subject. Usually it's going to be right behind the camera. So on this photo here, the light source is coming from the side because there's a window next to Aaron there. But then there's also a light that's coming from behind the camera towards him, face on. #3, frame your shot. You can kind of see how I framed Aaron in this photo. This is using what's called the 2/3 rule. If you were to cut this image into thirds from top to bottom, you want to kind of offset your subject to the left or the right. Don't have them dead center. It's okay if they are. It's not the end of the world, but try to offset them a little bit. And also, we like to have the people talking off camera, not facing the camera, just directly into the camera. It looks a little awkward. It looks a little like Big Brother when they're just looking directly into the camera. It depends on your tastes. We like to frame it the way that we have Aaron here, where he's looking off looking off to the side of the camera, and he's a little offset in the shot. And you see this type of an interview done on like the History Channel all the time. So. Also, if you have a chance, clean up your set. Try to get rid of all the garbage that might be on the desk, the Post-it notes, the coffee, cups, all that kind of stuff. And then finally, don't zoom. Move the camera closer to your subject for 2 reasons. One, the video quality will be much better if you don't zoom. Move the camera. And second, the audio will be much better. If you happen to have a camera where the mic is on the camera itself, moving the camera closer to the subject is obviously going to give you better audio quality. As far as editing, real simple. As far as this is a client testimonial, we suggest you come up with some branded bumpers. We can more than help you create these for you, but basically it starts with a 5 to 2nd intro that features your branding on every video you produce. In the middle you have 1 or 2 minutes of content, so whoever's speaking on your behalf. And as you can see here how we framed Ted in this shot, he's a little offset and he's looking off camera. And then we end with the call to action, which again features your branding and drives them to do some sort of action. Go to your website, give you a call, whatever it may be. This is a very basic workflow for editing your videos, and this is where I suggest you start. Very, very simple. So once you have the video edited, how do you use this? How do you leverage it online? What are some rules that you should be doing every time you create a video? In general, if it's public facing, and I mentioned this before, publish it everywhere. YouTube, Facebook, you name it. Just get it out there. You can change the messaging around the video, as we were talking about earlier, but just get it as many places as you can. Always upload it to YouTube. Create a YouTube channel. I'll touch on that in a later slide. Don't be afraid to reshare video content. Facebook now limits your reach. So in the same way that you might retweet something or post a tweet multiple times, do that on Facebook as well. You only need to upload it once to Facebook, but you can share it multiple times. So maybe you share it once a week, maybe you share it every other week, depending on what it is, what the messaging is. Just don't be afraid to do that. The copy is as important, if not more important, than the video itself. So make sure when you're uploading it to YouTube that you're filling out the title, the description, putting in every link, answering all the little all the questions on data, the location, everything. Fill all that stuff out. All of that stuff is what's driving the SEO around the video. So making sure you have as much information as far as the copy is concerned is super, super important. Number 4, don't get caught up trying to chase the viral video or create Lord of the Rings. As we've mentioned over and over again, this is keep it simple. You know, once you get comfortable with the process, then you can start looking at producing some bigger, higher-end production stuff. Don't chase perfection, as Ted was mentioning. And then finally, video is expendable, audio is not.
So Mike, a couple questions came in. The first one is how do you track viewership of your videos? I mean, how do you know you're making progress, or you see, you know
right.
people are actually watching it?
Let me let me move forward on that one, because I do address that. There are different ways of looking at the analytics behind the video. So here we go. So let's just dive into this, and I think I'll answer that question. Mm-hmm. Where should you be sharing these videos? Well, there's a number of solutions out there. There's countless solutions out there. The number one, big boy, is YouTube. You should have a YouTube channel. If you don't have one, get one started. Google owns YouTube, so the SEO benefits of video on YouTube is insane. It's the second largest search engine out there. So if people are living on YouTube and you don't have a presence there, think of like doing a Google search and you don't have you don't exist on Google. I mean, it's that kind of that kind of philosophy. So make sure every video that you produce you are uploading to your YouTube channel. Now that said, you don't necessarily have to use YouTube as your one and only video hosting solution. We prefer Wistia, and through a lot of pain, a lot of money over the years, we have tried countless solutions, from the really high-end solutions to right down to YouTube. Wistia has been fantastic for us. What's great about these other solutions like Wistia is they give you much better metrics and analytics per video, as well as they allow you to have a private platform in that you can share, your videos aren't searchable on search engines. No one's going to stumble across videos. So if you have a lot of sensitive video content, some internal videos that you don't want to share with the public, no one's going to be able to find that, as opposed to something like YouTube, where YouTube you have to turn on and off your videos as far as videos being private or public or unlisted. So the analytics part to me is probably the most important thing here. Getting on board with a solution like Wistia is the real value there, is all the bells and whistles that go along with the analytics. And I'll show you what some of those analytics are that you should be looking at. So if you had a 1-2 punch here, I would say YouTube and Wistia. Those are your two platforms. And I'll just mention aside, there's some social media platforms. Facebook, obviously, you can upload video, and they actually do a really good job with their encoding process. And then now we're starting to see some other unique approaches to video with Vine and Instagram, where you have these really short, 7-second videos that you can create that are kind of fun, great for cultural type pieces. I wouldn't focus on those right now, but just to know that they're out there and they're coming down the road. So as I mentioned before, I won't spend a lot of time on this. YouTube is really the kingpin as far as video hosted platforms, but there's a lot of limitations to it. Branding, there's ads, it's public facing, the analytics are somewhat mediocre. They're getting better and better, but it is what it is. It's much a tool for business as it is for social activities, you know, cat videos and things like that. So it's very good to have a presence there, but it shouldn't be your only solution if you really want to get serious about tracking your metrics. So as far as metrics are concerned, these screenshots here are actually of Wistia. So this gives you an idea of the different types of things you can look at. You can look at the play rate of each video. What is particularly interesting to me is if you look at the sort of heat map here, the who, when, where, the interesting, all these little notes here, you'll see that I can see the person, Johnson & Johnson. I can see who watched this video. I can see where it's red there, it shows that they watched that particular section over and over again. So that's something I'd want to keep my eye on. What happened in that point in the video that they watched over and over again? And then I can see where it's white, where they stopped watching and they skipped ahead. So at some point we lost their interest and they just sort of skipped ahead to see what else is in this video. But the really thing that they were interested in was that red section there and the orange section where they rewatched it over and over again. Those are the kinds of things I want to know as far as the type of content I'm generating. I want to be looking at what's resonating with people. But I also want to see who watched the video. And then if you look at the graph above, you can see play rates, the number of plays, and this is per video. And what's the average amount of engagement I'm getting with different video, how many people watched it, how many unique viewers watched it, which is important because I think a lot of people get caught up with tracking the number of views. Well, that might be Ted watching his video 100 times because Ted wants to see himself on video. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have 100 unique viewers watching the video. So it's very important that you're tracking the unique viewers versus the number of plays, and having that distinction is very important. The other thing I'll mention on here real quick is what we also love about, that's fine if you move ahead, don't worry about it. The other thing I'll mention on here is the other thing we like about Wistia is they integrate with Constant Contact and MailChimp, which is wonderful if you're using, and as well as a number of other email campaign type services. Where you can actually integrate your videos into your newsletters that are going out. And you can track who's watching what and look at the analytics as far as how successful people are engaging with your videos via your email campaigns. So just another little plug for Wistia there. So resources, I put together some resources that are worth checking out. As far as blogs, if you want to really sort of dip your toe into understanding marketing, modern marketing, or online marketing and video, HubSpot's a great place to go. They have tons of great articles. Video industry news is a great source for learning about just sort of what's going on with the video industry. There's a really heavy aspect of online video. So if you want to go read up about some of that, lots of great articles there. And then finally, Never Stop Marketing. Jeremy Epstein is someone that, for those of you who might go to IT Nation, you might have seen him. He is deeply embedded in the IT industry, but really also has his pulse on sort of the whole concept of blogging and social media, as well as integrating video into that. Video and articles, if you want to check out some testimonials that we've shot, you'll see that not all our videos are that great quality. And it's not about the quality. So even for us, with all our gear, it's really about going and capturing the testimonial. If you click on that link there, you can go check out how we sort of laid it out on our website and how we're using our testimonial videos. And then this second video here, Gary Vaynerchuk, the Thank You Economy. I would really recommend everybody watching it. It's fascinating. Super entertaining guy. I will say he's got a little bit of a mouth on him, but that really adds to his persona. And this guy really built his whole business by himself with not a lot of formal education, and he gets it, and it's an amazing video. And then finally, there's new trends in social media, the Instagram versus Vine, some of the new cool fun things that are out there that you can play around with, shooting video on your phone and sharing it socially. And then as far as tools and gear, there's a great video on how to use that lavalier mic I mentioned earlier that shows you how to use it with your phone, walks you through what to use it for. And then finally, as far as going back to our conversation about websites, WooRank and Website Grader are a great way to sort of look at how your website is ranked. Where are you at right now, and where do you want to be? This is a good way to sort of track how well your website is doing as far as SEO and those types of things. And I think this last slide here, yeah, this is the playbook I mentioned earlier. This gives you a little picture of sort of where we started as far as what we were tracking and how often we were posting and the metrics we were looking at. So this is a great little place to start. You know, everybody does it differently, but this sort of gives you some place to get rolling on how often you should be posting. And not every post here is a video post. I just want to make that clear. I will say that I mentioned earlier, visuals are much more engaged. People engage much more with visuals than they do with just written copy. So photos, I encourage photos with a blurb as opposed to just text. And I think that might be it.
Okay, well, Mike, thank you very much. We have time for a couple more questions here, so there's a couple in the queue. Let me just quickly tackle them. So Rob wants to know where the video analytics tools you were showing earlier, what platform did those come from?
That was from Wistia.
Okay. And then Bonnie wants to know, how can I use video to generate leads from my website?
How do I use video to generate leads for my website? Well, there's a number of different ways you can approach this. We've gone pretty deep with tracking keywords as far as driving traffic to our website. And we've put on, if you go to our website and you look at it, you'll see that a lot of these pages that we're driving the traffic to, the first and foremost thing they're seeing on there is a video. And that video is what we're trying to build our SEO around. So when somebody does a Google search for, say, live webcasting, they are seeing a link to our live webcasting page, which features a certain video. The video, whether you've embedded it from Wistia or YouTube, has a lot of SEO built into it. Since Google finds video to be very, very relevant, when you start posting videos that are specific to some of these keywords that people are searching for, this is driving traffic back to your website. The trick is, when they get to your website, you want to make sure that you're gathering those leads by putting in some kind of a form that they can fill out. We use MailChimp to drive our forms, but this can then be come into your ticketing system, whether you're using Autotask or ConnectWise or whatever that is, which then your sales team can follow up on. But the video, because video is so relevant, this is what's really popping up in your SEO as far as, like, say, a Google search or a Bing search. The video itself is, because it's so relevant, is what's sort of driving the content around the keywords. Now, I would say it's probably worth your time at some point to invest some money in having someone come on your team and help you identify what are those keywords that you should be focused on featuring on your website to drive traffic to your website, and maybe doing some Google ads around those keywords. But the video itself is the relevant content. So keeping that fresh, rotating that kinds of things out is what you want to be doing.
Yeah, and I think I would make another comment as well, that you really don't want to gatekeep access to video with a lead form. It's the wrong it's the wrong medium to do that. I mean, you want everything to end up in a lead because you want to be able to interact and respond to somebody. But video is the sort of thing you want to be shared. You want it to make you interesting, and it's kind of the bait to draw in people's initial interest. And it's instant gratification oriented, so you don't really want to put a lead capture form in front of it. But one thing we're doing And admittedly, this is just an experiment, really, because we're just getting started. But we're using video as a way to draw people's attention. But then right alongside that video, we are prompting them to give us a little bit of information about themselves in exchange for something else. And so one of the things that partners, when we're trying to recruit new MSPs, everybody wants to see the eFolder price list. So what we're doing is we're using video in order to prompt people's attention. We don't gatekeep access to the video, but if you want a copy, if you want to see the eFolder price list, then you have to tell us who you are. And then our salespeople will interface with the partner prospect and share the price list with them, provided they're a qualified lead, and then we will share that content with them. So that's a way to kind of use video in kind of a 1-2 punch sequence where you get their attention with the video, but then you have other pieces of content like white papers or buying guides or price lists or whatever it may be that they're going to value, that they'll give up their information for you.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you on that. To me, when I look at video, video is the sex of the whole thing. It's the sexiness, right? It's what people engage with without even thinking about it. They just click on a video. They don't even know what the video is about. They'll click on the button just to start a video. And that's what draws them in. But yeah, it's really about, as far as your website is concerned, it's really about getting them engaged with you, whether it's picking up the phone and going deeper or filling out a form or whatever it is. That's where you want to drive them to. We sort of went a little deep with our website. We had a ton of information on there, a ton of videos, and it was too many. It was too much stuff. And we simplified it and simplified our message and just sort of piqued people's interest enough for them to want to dig deeper, to pick up the phone or fill out that form or whatever it was. And that's how we started using it. And we're getting way more engagement with that approach than trying to throw everything at them all at once.
Okay, well, with that, I mean, we're pretty much out of time. We had a lot of questions about getting copies of these slides and seeing this on demand. We will post this presentation to our SlideShare site, which will also allow you to download them and get access to all these resources. And then just like Mike recommends, eFolder, we take all of our webinars and put them up on our YouTube channel and Facebook and the like. So that's an area where we will direct you to view this on demand if you want to share this with a colleague or a friend. And with that, this pretty much wraps up our eFolder Partner Chat webinar. Mike, thanks a lot for joining us today with all this great advice and expertise.
You bet. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay. This is Ted Holsey with eFolder signing off. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Take care.